So one of the ways, probably the least favorite way I've seen counterattacks manifest in my life, is through what I call body hits. And some people never experience much of that, but I've experienced a lot of it. And in 2018, I went to Asia. We went to Asia for several weeks. We were gone like 22 days or something. We were gone for a long time. And my ankle was already severely sprained from the trip to Nigeria, but I was pressing on. I wasn't going to let it stop me. I'm an overcomer. But I was supposed to teach twice a day, and when I got there to this one particular country, they wanted me to teach like 6 times a day. But I'm going to pour out everything I've got. From there, I'm going to do it. But, you know, we had to take our shoes off, and it was the shoes that was helping support my ankle, that I couldn't wear. I had no support, and I'm in horrible pain, but I'm pressing on. And it wasn't even things that were like my teaching catalog. They're like, oh, the Lord says you're going to teach on this. I'm like, I've never taught on that in my life. So I'm up all night studying, but I'm going to do it because I'm there to serve, right? I'm going to go for it. So I'll be up all night, and then I'd stand all day, and it was rough. But when I had gotten there, the Lord said, do everything they ask you to do. And I was like, Lord, you didn't tell me it was going to be all this. I mean, it was really intense, but I determined I was going to do everything they asked me to do. And so we'd have small breaks in between. There was an elevator. We'd go up and down, and this lady in the elevator, she said, can I have a word with you? And PV's like standing behind me, and I could feel her saying, nope, you need to go sit down, because she's like an armor bearer, right? She's just trying to protect me. But I felt a witness in my spirit to say yes. So we got out of the elevator. She takes me over to the side in the corner, and she says, would you like to meet the president of our nation? And I said, yes. I mean, you know, I'm not going to tell you what nation it was. I said, yes, big nation. And she goes, okay, well, what we'll do is I'll pick you up at your hotel tomorrow. She worked as like a security officer, like the part of the police guard for the president in the palace. So I was like, she goes, well, we're going to come to pick you up at 8:30 in the morning, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And my host, who had me doing all this teaching, they said, you can't do that. You can't do that. And I said, well, you know, why not? Well, you could end up in jail. If something goes wrong, you could end up in jail. But I had a witness of the Holy Spirit. And so we went. So we went there, and I thought I was going to meet the president, but the president wasn't there that day, but she put us right through. There was like a metal detectors and stuff we had to go through, but they ushered us right through. And we were walking down the hallways of the palace, and I'm like, man, this is cool. And she said, well, I'm going to show you the president's office, the war room. I said, okay. So we went into the war room. It was the cabinet room. And she said, well, this is the president's chair, and that's the president's pen, and that's the president's notepad. And so I did what you would do. I sat down in the chair. I did. I sat down in the chair, and she began to, remember that? You got a picture, and which we'll never publish. At least I end up in jail. So I'm there, and she was telling us about these weirdly wicked laws that were going to be passed. And they were very concerned about it, the immoral laws that were going to be passed to the nation. And she said, well, you know, we really need to pray. And so I sat there in the president's chair, holding the president's pen, and I began to decree and declare that this law will not pass. I began to make declarations for about 15 minutes. And finally she goes, I'm sorry to stop, but we have to go. So I don't know what was happening, but we needed to get out of Dodge, and I didn't want to be in jail, so we left. And I think I took the pen with me. It wasn't like a, you know, Mont Blanc or something, but I think I took the pen. I was in a hurry. So we walk out, and as we're walking out, we see this yellow butterfly. And it was like, to me, a prophetic sign that it was a new beginning for this nation. And I'm not saying it was all because of the declarations. A lot of people were praying, but I was sitting in the president's chair, for real. And anyway, the next day we had to go all the way to the other side of the country in a bus with a whole bunch of people. And I was preaching at this mega church for Rosh Hashanah. And I mean, this was a huge, huge church. I mean, 5 stories. This is a big church. They had like all these things. Big place. And so we get there, and they're like, well, we got to climb up these 5 stairs. And I'm like, okay, well, all right. Because when I got there, my ankle was messed up, but they took me to all these different doctors, and they put all these salves, and they bought special booties and special blankets. I mean, they really treated me like a queen. Everything they could do to make, and my ankle wasn't hurting. So I said, okay, well, I'll climb up the stairs. Well, by the time I got to the third flight of stairs, my ankle went, and I'm like, oh my Lord. I could barely walk. I could barely get up onto the platform, because you had to climb up the stairs. And I was in so much pain, and I had to preach in front of 10,000 people, however many it was. And then when we started to come back down at the end, there was an elevator right there. So whoever it was, they were either confused or whatever. That was the counterattack from me praying and decreeing and declaring in the president's chair. Now, the law didn't pass, right? But I got counterattacked by the enemy for doing what I did. And that happens sometimes. It does happen sometimes. A few weeks later, the law was defeated, but it was backlash. It was backlash. And sometimes the retaliation is subtle at first. Maybe it's delays or just irritations or, small losses. But if you don't stop it, it'll escalate. Because you're giving the devil permission. He's showing you, hi, I'm here, and you're like, oh, come on, let me open the door a little wider. Let me give in to this. Let me get frustrated. And that's why you need to understand how the enemy retaliates. Last week we talked about why the enemy retaliates. We need to know how. Let's look at 1 Peter 5:8 in the Amplified Version. 1 Peter 5:8. It says, Peter said, be well balanced, temperate, sober of mind, be vigilant and cautious at all times. Somebody say at all times. Man, that's a tough job. We're not supposed to let our guard, it doesn't mean we're paranoid, but we're not supposed to let our guard down. We're supposed to be alert in the spirit. We're not supposed to be walking around like, with our, like airheads. Be vigilant and cautious at all times. For that enemy of yours, the devil, roams about like a lion roaring in fierce hunger, seeking someone to seize upon and devour. Now, Peter painted a picture. Have you ever actually watched some of those wildlife shows where the lion is roaming about? Yeah. Right? And then he sees his prey. And what does he do? Man, he goes after it. And it's ugly. He painted a picture. That's what the devil does. He sees, vulnerable, guards down. They're not being cautious. They're not being vigilant. And on top of that, they got open doors. The devil doesn't have to have an open door to attack you, but if you've got one, he'll be more likely to pick you than someone standing next to you who has no open doors, because you're easy prey. Easy prey. And many people, they drop their guard after a breakthrough, and that's why they lose it. They're not vigilant. They're not cautious at all times. And people read that, well, how am I supposed to be? How am I supposed to? Well, walk in the Spirit. It takes practice, guys. It takes practice. None of us are ever going to be perfect at it. But once we're aware of what the enemy is trying to do, well, that's a good part of the battle right there, just being aware, just being informed. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. And so, if they're not cautious, if they're not vigilant, the enemy launches a counterattack to devour the breakthrough. And most of the time, the counterattack comes in the form of some kind of pressure, some kind of disruption. I mean, I don't know about you, maybe it's just me, but have you ever felt like it's just one thing after another? Have you been through seasons like that? I mean, I don't live that way, but there's seasons where it's like, it's like you don't even barely catch your breath and you're getting smacked again. You didn't lose your breakthrough because it wasn't real. You lost it because you didn't see the counterattack coming. Too many believers celebrate the victory and drop their guard. They think the battle is over because the prayer was answered, the door opened, the chains broke, or the breakthrough finally came. And that's when the enemy retaliates. It's called a counterattack, and you need to expect it. You need to discern the enemy's maneuvers and shut him down before he has a chance to strike. My course, Disarming Demonic Counterattacks, will teach you how to recognize retaliation early, shut down backlash, and protect what God just released in your life. You'll learn the enemy's patterns, his pressure points, and his tactics
so you're not shocked when resistance rises. If you're advancing, you can expect pushback. If you're breaking through, you should anticipate retaliation. But if you're aware, you'll keep standing in victory. Don't let the enemy reclaim ground you fought to gain. Don't let backlash steal what heaven released. Get the course, Disarming Demonic Counterattacks, how to stand your ground when hell pushes back. Enroll now, because the next counterattack won't wait until you're ready. Go to schoolofthespirit.tv and learn how to push back the pushback.